Yo, yo. What is going on, everybody? What up? What up? What up? Gonna give everybody just a second just to log in here. I'm hoping, and it looks like it might be working, but I think I got the multicast going. Should have it going to both Twitter Spaces. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me on Twitter Spaces. Nice, nice. And then it does look like I did get it live on YouTube. So hell yeah, we figured this shit out. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Web3 Breakfast Bites. My name is Jay Chains. New space that I'm doing here Monday through Friday. Again, we are also sending this over to YouTube and Twitch. So if you are a Twitchster, you can check it out there. You guys can check it out live either way you want to check it out. But here we go. I have got let's remove this overlay here just for the YouTube folks. There we go. All right. So we are definitely live on YouTube, definitely live on Twitter. What's happening, everybody? It is Tuesday. Today, I want to talk about the importance of self-custody, keeping digital assets safe. Obviously, it's an important thing that's happening right now in the space with, making sure that one, you are doing all your own research at this particular moment. Don't just trust people. But two, you got to keep your stuff safe. I mean, this is the bottom of a bear market, guys. If this is your first time in a cycle, when it goes up, your portfolio tends to like 10x, like when we get back up towards the top. So like, you want to start protecting that shit, especially as you start to stack. Because when we get to like 2024, when we get to the next part of the Bitcoin halving cycle, I mean, that's when we're going to start to see a lot of activity ramp up, right? It's probably going to happen when we least expect it, like, and when I say that, think about things like the crypto market always does the opposite of what we think. Like, everybody says there's no way the bottom's in. You know what, I'm starting to think maybe that was the bottom, only because the way that the market reacts is always opposite of what we think. And if we all think that we haven't seen the bottom, maybe we saw the bottom. I mean, that's just one theory that is mine. Definitely want to hear for some more people, but I want to run through just a couple things really quick here. One of the things that I used to like to do on the live stream that I was doing for Meta Money was just run through some of the stuff that's happening in the space, just so that we can all stay informed, right? So like if I head on over to nftgo.io, it's one of my favorite sites for looking at analytics of NFTs and such. But you can go over there, you can see, check volume, floor price, sales, market cap, all that stuff. So if you are looking to move into something that's got some liquidity, or if you need to to generate some ETH, man, I'll tell you what, go on over to that site. A lot of analytics there. Like, for instance, you can see that the floor price or Bored Apes is down to 52 ETH. I don't know where that's going to go. I don't know if the bottom is in on that. I'm really I know I see Baron, you're in the house, man. You're an ape. I got a mutant, but I don't have an ape. This is exciting territory for people that see the opportunity of it, right? For instance, I just bought a mutant at 14, but they're down to 9.87 right now, right? I think floor for the mutants is going to be around 6. That's my opinion. That was kind of like the last time we saw like a big pop happen. So just be on the lookout. Like, if you are you wanted to get one, but obviously we kind of got priced out when things hit 20, 30, whatever ETH, at the height of the market last time. I mean, this is your chance to get that NFT, or get it to the collection you always wanted, at a much easier rate to stomach, right? Like, under 10 ETH for a mutant is way better than 25 or 30. And there's no fault for buying there. This is just, an opportunity. So again, head on over there. Ooh, another thing that I like looking at right here, other deed for other side. Right now, the floor is at 0.83. This is juicy territory, man. I think, the bottom for me and what I'm thinking mentally for the other deed floor price is about 0.6, 0.7, somewhere in there. So we are definitely getting close. I'm thinking about buying another one. One of the things I suggest if you are looking to get an other deed, when you go into, you can filter all the traits and stuff. Definitely find something that's got a first trip obelisk piece. I mean, I think that's as the as the economy grows and as they do more tests and everything, like you get a chance to earn more pieces to that. And then I'm pretty confident, and I believe it says it in the light paper. And Baron, you could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal is to reward the people that have been there from start to finish, that help develop the ecosystem and the and what they're doing there on the other side. So they are going to be giving away more plots, because they are going to double the quantity from 100K to 200K. And I believe that there was a certain percentage that was earmarked for the people that help build and develop, and I'm pretty sure that that's what that is for. Mind your biz. Let me bring you back up here. All right, so that was just a little bit of and that was a segment I used to call like land watch, right? But I think it's more than just land prices at this point. We're in a bear market. And NFTs, is it still a bear market for NFTs? I don't know, man. That's part of the conversation that we can all have. My wife's got to bring me a cup of coffee. Thank you.
Well, that's happened a minute. Why don't I just pop in and say hello?
What's
a bunch of times they're just trying to get this the mic going.
Sorry. Yeah, I was just on a roll, man. But absolutely, thank you everybody for joining up. Air, appreciate you coming up and co-host and talking about custody. Mind your biz. He's one of my really good friends in this entire industry, and if you have not checked out his channel, make sure that you do. Privacy security expert. I mean, this guy knows what the F he's talking about. So I did ask him to come up and chat with us a little bit today, kind of about the importance of self-custody, keeping all your digital assets safe. And anybody in the crowd, if you guys want to come up, if you got anything to add to the conversation, please feel free at any point, just request it. I want this to always be more of a conversation than me just like talking to everybody. I think it's a lot more valuable to everybody, if we can contribute and make sure that, we're thinking, collectively, because as we saw what happened recently, when the centralized minds decide what's going on, bad things happen. So let's do it as a community, huh? I like that.
Yeah, and appreciate you inviting me onto this space also, Jay Chains. I know last night when you scheduled it, man, I was psyched. I'm super amped for this format that you're doing, man. You are like the voice of crypto, brother. So
thank you.
So need to hear your voice every single day.
I love it. Yeah, I appreciate that. Even my mom said the same thing. She goes, "Yeah, I miss, your daily show. I miss watching you every single day." And I said, "All right, for you, Mom, we're gonna get this thing done, and for everybody, right? Like all of my militia members that we're hanging out with us every single day. Just some big changes. But yeah, man, I'm super stoked about what's happening. Kind of going off doing this J Chains thing, building my own brand. Right now, and I implore everybody to do that if this is an opportunity that you wanted. And really quick, we can get back into kind of the whole point of the show of the self-custody and keeping your assets safe and stuff. But this was a big change that I was making, one, because the market's primed for it. This is the time to be building, growing, and developing. I said it before, I'll say it again until I'm blue in the face. And this is the time to make something of yourself. So say you were looking for a new career, say you've always wanted to be a content creator, now is your time. Grab your phone, shoot a video, and post it, and just do it. Don't think about it, just do it. You will get better the more you do it. You'll get more comfortable. You'll everything will just get better. Are you a graphic designer? Hop onto an NFT community, start doing some fan art. I guarantee you, if you're good, if you got some talent and people notice what you're doing, hey, you're either going to have your own collection soon, or they'll pick you up for a graphic designer for what they're doing. Maybe you can start doing things for games. Who knows? There's just endless opportunities. But with that, you could get yourself paid in crypto. And then what do you got to do with that crypto, Seth?
Oh, you're gonna tuck it away nice and tight. Here's the funny thing: is you're talking about all these skills that we're used to using in the real world, where normally the logic is branding, right? You got to present yourself professionally in the world and credential yourself in a way that everybody starts to know your name, especially as you get better at some of those skills. You kind of a necessity, right? Professional necessity requires that people know what you do. But ironically, once you start stacking, that's when you kind of need to play it a little more low key, J Chains. You got to keep it a little closer to the vest. Mm-hmm. You can't let everybody know what your stack is at all times. Now, NFTs are a slightly different space, right? It is kind of a crossover between those two things. But I'm going to say something that some people maybe haven't internalized or don't practice, and that is that you got to keep your crypto savings separate from your crypto exhibitions, your crypto NFTs, anything that is where you're trying to peacock, right? Where you're trying to show off those achievements, because that's kind of the IRL way of thinking. It's okay in its own lane, in its own frame, but with your wealth, right? Like you wouldn't let everybody see a bank statement showing your exact savings, would you? Like, that's what crypto does. It's totally public. So that's the first thing. There's a little bit of operational security. If you don't want people knowing what your stack is, then don't go making that your vanity.ENS address, right? So do have that separate. But that's the first thing, is that security and privacy are a mindset and a habit. But then the next thing is hardware. Now, I've put something up in the nest of your Twitter space right now. People can see that. It's a little thread that I wrote last night in response to you inviting me onto the show today, J-Chain. So I appreciate you lighting that fire under my butt for me to just get a little thread going here on Twitter. So that ensures that people have a little bit of a primer. And yeah, it's really, I mean, even the very first gift there, it's, the long beard guy in favor of when J-Chain's had a longer beard, right? So that's kind of, the genesis of that thread there.
There you go.
But the idea is right now in a post FTX world, right? When FTX melts down, and now you got a bunch of people saying, well, you should know how to custody your coins. Well, guess who's been telling you that for years? Yeah, your host, probably both your co-hosts, probably a lot of people in the audience here, but not enough, right? It's too little too late in the case of some people, but now we rebuild. So prepare yourself for the next and have those really good habits from day one. Again, the first thing is that it's a mindset, not about the tools. Your mind is the tool, right? So just think, next time around, I will, and commit to that new mode of holding your wealth securely and privately. But that thread, it talks about how you can do that. Well, the first step is just assessing what your needs are. You might be in a situation where, maybe you're married, you have kids, maybe you're not, you're just in a committed relationship, or maybe you're not in a committed relationship. You just have family or friends who might need to be aware of like a little bit of the fact that you're holding crypto and the fact that there may need to be a point in your life where they need to step in. I know that sounds a little bit, it can be a little bit difficult thinking about how we're all mortal, right? Like none of us lives forever. And with crypto, you definitely can't take it with you, except that you can, right? It's functionally a crypto burn. It's a coin and token burn. If you pass away or if just something happens to you and nobody else has access to your seed phrase or your keys. So there is a balance between you having it totally locked down, but having it flexible enough for estate planning and succession planning. Think it through. And if you need to talk to somebody on a consulting level, find somebody who you can trust and who you can talk through it with. Obviously, they should never ask you for your seed phrase. They should never ask you for your private keys. But they can talk through what the specifics of your situation might look like. And if you're fortunate in this space, you may be able to find that person who's qualified in more than one way. Maybe you can find a crypto CPA or somebody that has their Series 7 who's in crypto. There are a few people that do this. Right? I don't have a ready recommendation. I don't want to show anyone, but I do want to impress upon your audience right now, J-Chains, that you have to think about the future. That's the whole point, is that you have to think about the future and you have to think about the people in your life who you might need to include in your crypto journey. So think about that first and really try to map that out as far as you can before you start to, separate seed phrases or get your seed phrase locked down in one place or write it down in multiple locations. One other thing that I'll add there is, as you are creating a hardware wallet, if you don't have one already, or as you're importing your seed phrase into a hardware wallet, you need to do one of a couple things. Either scrub all other versions of your seed phrase, no matter where they are, from the face of the planet, or sweep your wallets into the new hardware wallet. Now, what does sweeping mean? It just means you literally take all the holdings, the NFTs, the tokens, the coins, and you just transfer them over to the new wallet. Simple. Even your ENS domain name, it can be transferred over, right? Custody can be transferred over to a new wallet address, and you can make that the primary so that on Etherscan or on OpenSea or any other place where you want your vanity address to live, it lives there now. So you won't lose anything by just transferring over to a new wallet.
I love it, man. There's a lot of great information there, and I think and you can even go deeper on some of that stuff, right? And Seth, thank you so much for coming in and talking about that, because it is super important, and especially like as we get into more developed ecosystem, there will be more bad actors, there will be more things that come up. So taking those precautionary steps now, when there isn't that much interest, this is in your best interest to be doing that. When you're talking about, hey, if you've got your hand up to say something, go ahead, man. I know some people raise their hand because they vibe, and some people raise their hand because they have a question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I usually raise mine because I have the habit of interrupting people, or like, I don't know, like my interjections are never well timed.
It's all good, man. You can chime in whenever. I like that. I like sometimes, like it just, if you stop someone in their tracks and we change the conversation, like that doesn't bother me. As long as you provide value, like it's okay.
Yes, sir. And first off, I want to say GM to everybody and thank you for allowing me to come on. I can tell that I am in good company with this topic on stage, so thank you. Wanted to kind of separate the two, though. So self-custody and keeping your assets safe are they're obviously related, but they're almost two different subjects here, especially considering recent events. The importance of self-custody, right now in the space that exists is in relation to DeFi versus CeFi, what those people are doing with your money when you keep it on the exchange versus what's happening with your money if you're able to control it and place it in your own storage. And then even beyond that, there's those of us who have operated in the DeFi space forever and still don't know how to use a hard wallet. So it's almost a separate subject, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, let me riff on that a little bit and just say, enunciate, riff, because I definitely hear what you're saying. So I think what I appreciate about being invited into this space is that I just want to impress upon as many people as possible who are listening to my voice that, when what you're saying is true. It's very easy to make very serious gains in the DeFi space and not be security minded. I am urging you. I'm literally begging folks here, get security minded, because if your wealth is gone in one hack, that's almost worse than having you commit a trading mistake. You know what I mean? Like having a prop at the markets and then to lose it because there's some kind of very small vulnerability or very small insecurity in your custody model that gets you rug pulled. Like that's preventable. That's all I'm saying. It's like wearing a seatbelt in your car. Airbags are not going to save your life if you're not wearing a seatbelt, right? In the event of a high-speed collision, just saying. And then, other kinds of protection in your life, as you know, if you use very small, simple means of protection in your life, it usually yields a very big benefit when you need it. So that security mindset protects you down the line.
It's like a condom.
Oh yeah, so we're definitely on that same page. I use a ledger for for what people use as a Mint wallet. Like I have a ledger for every account that I use. And operational security is definitely something that I've probably preached and stood on the soapbox for forever as well. So yeah, I definitely agree. Like I said, they're very intertwined topics. So yeah.
So that's something that's important to talk about is, the difference between, the hot and the cold wallets, and why you don't want to connect like, your prized possession wallet to any kind of a minting site. I mean, that's where most hacks seem to happen, right? Is someone connects their wallet to a shitty contract and then boom, everything's gone. And hey, listen, we're all victims to that. I honestly, I was just getting into the Cardano NFT system and ecosystem like 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. I've been in this fucking space for years. And I wanted to get in the Cardano. I wanted to buy some Cardano NFTs. So what did I do? I went to the iTunes store and I downloaded the app. Problem is, there's no official app. It is a known scam, but I had absolutely no idea. And so what happened? Man, I lost all my Cardano, all of it. I was able to keep the NFTs that I had, but I lost it all because what did I do? Something stupid.
And this is the why people don't want the self-custody. So if we like, so there's been a bunch of conversations going on about the FTX scandal and all of this stuff, and there's been a bunch of blame shifted, and a lot of the blame has been shifted on behalf of the consumers. Like, who would be stupid enough to keep all their money on an exchange? Well, this is the why, because they hear these horror stories of people downloading wrong apps or connecting to sites and getting robbed and all of this stuff, and it's a nightmare. Like, you feel like you're safe having your whatever it is on an exchange that's supposedly regulated by whatever government that you respect, as opposed to holding your own keys in your own custody. And then again, so now we're getting back into the security being intertangled in that. You know, the misperception that DeFi is just this unsafe, wild west. You know, is true to an extent, but can be navigated with proper security.
Yeah, and I'll be the first to admit also, in my crypto journey, I've had stretches of time where I've had crypto on exchanges, and, you know, I wake up with that pit in my stomach, like, okay, because I know I had that security mindset. I know, like, okay, am I going to wake up and just discover that this small exchange is insolvent, or it's a rug pull, or there's been some massive hack? And so I don't sleep easy when my crypto has been on exchange, but I've had those stretches where I'm waiting for a limit order to execute. I'm waiting for something to happen, you know, so I can, like, go to sleep or something, right? Like, I'm not going to sit at the charts, you know, or sit at the trading desk, or try to like babysit my orders every 5 minutes, right? Or look at a 1 minute chart. People, I don't understand the trading mindset, so it is different. But I'm more of an investor than a trader. So yeah, with crypto being on exchanges, like, there are those stretches where people use them because they're useful, or the idea of exchanges is useful. Yeah, but fast forward to now, 2020, moving to 2022, going into 2023, we don't only have DEXs. We've got DEXs with limit orders built in. We've got all this stuff that can happen on chain that is just so much more advanced and gives us full transparency and visibility into our trades, into our LPs, into anything else you want to do with your tokens. And in some cases, right, even with auctions, right, of NFTs, you got so much more visibility and then direct control with your private keys that, I mean, I'm really hoping that we just see, like, in our communities, that we see everybody agree we have to build up the decentralized exchange infrastructure, so we're never at the mercy of a group like FTX again. But that's maybe even a different topic. So just to say, like, I'm a strong believer in DEXs, and, like, I mean, DEXs and self-custody, they are the strongest protection against the kinds of rug pulls that we experienced this last week.
Oh, I mean, absolutely, and you know, we talked about that a little bit yesterday on this show. You know, the importance of being able to utilize a decentralized exchange, and I tell you what, man, like, you know, with the ability to do that, like, and why it's so important is that, you know, you're seeing, you know, when a centralized exchange has a problem and they pause withdrawals, you're literally, there's nothing you can do. Like, you have to wait. You are at the mercy of whatever's going to happen. If it's maintenance, great. If it's insolvency, shit. And so, you know, if you say to yourself, you know what, here's the deal. I'm ready to take custody by myself of my funds, and you learn how to use a decentralized exchange, you're never at the mercy of anyone else. Like, maybe you're at the mercy of gas fees, right? Like, that's it. Like, that's, you know, that's usually the only thing that, like, deters me from making any kind of a transaction, because I literally, like, unless it's an on or off ramp, like, at this point I can do everything on a decentralized exchange that I need to do. The only thing that deters me from doing any kind of a transaction is gas fees. You know, if I go to move an NFT and it's like $8, you know, I'll just wait. I'll wait until nighttime when it's cheaper. You know, like, those are the problems you face when you live in the decentralized realm versus trying to mess around with these centralized exchanges. And I get it; they're important. Again, the on and off ramps, it's very important. But you know, it's learning that decentralized aspect of this entire, you know, industry is something everybody needs to do. I think that's one of the most important things. One of the first steps, you know, like, set up your wallet and learn how to use a centralized exchange. Like, that should be like your first 2 steps. Maybe those are like the first 2 videos I'll make for the channel.
Yeah, no, that'd be phenomenal, man. So here, I'm just gonna, like, just interject this one little thing.
Mhm.
There's a thing called threat modeling, right? So threat modeling is something where you go a little bit beyond just, like, the good advice that Jay Change is mentioning that everybody needs to get through it, right? It's a checkbox item on the list that everybody needs to get through. But for some people, there are other checkboxes. So case in point, maybe you're trying to stack some rewards, or maybe you're trying to get some NFTs and trade some really great collections for a nephew or a niece. Maybe that's your personal situation, that you want to hand something off to somebody else. Maybe you got somebody in your life who is interested in the space, but you know that they're not quite responsible enough to handle it for themselves, like, children of your own. Or maybe you are responsible for a spouse who's interested in getting onboarded, but they don't totally know everything just yet. Maybe there's somebody in your life that has special needs, and I mean like literal special needs, such as blindness or deafness or some other developmental disorder that prevents them from being able to know all the steps that, like Jay Change is saying, you could follow in a clear, simple guide, like on the video he's talking about making here for the channel. There could be some people in your life that that need that extra bit of input. So think about some of the people in your life, but also threat modeling. Think about, where do you live in the world? Is there the real risk of your government kind of breaking bad, breaking evil, and saying, hey, we want to tax unrealized capital gains, for example, like trying to threaten you with a tax on unrealized capital gains? If they've ever said it, if they've ever even suggested it, then the likelihood of that maybe becoming a law has gone up. So that's part of your threat model now, like potentially abusive government. And there are other areas of the world where governments are obviously abusive, right? Where if they know you have something of value, like it's not even a question, they're going to come and try and take it. So you have to think about some of those things for your situation and plan against those while you're getting these tools in place, like Jay Chain's saying. And figure out, like, if that's my situation, then how do I kind of air quotes harden my security so that some of those potential threats in my life aren't a reality? And then beyond that, maybe you're somebody who has a job description where it's inconvenient for other people to know about your crypto or about your NFTs. Well, you might consider going anon and even creating a whole separate persona, right? Like I know some people who have top secret security clearances in the US government. They could not be caught dead by their coworkers being in a space like this under their name, right? Like that just would not end well for them. Mm-hmm. So all of that is part of threat modeling. And that may be an additional checkbox on the list that you've got to go through for securing your digital assets and custodying your own coins.
Yes, sir. Yeah. These are all the benefits of DeFi, which is what I'm really hoping comes out of this entire mess, right? So the world is already starting to look at, again, they're already starting to not trust custody on centralized exchanges. CZ is pretty much being put on a pedestal, which, is personally appealing to me. But he also has an avenue to help onboard people to DeFi through Trust Wallet. So the things that we need to make this thing a reality is more user-friendly entrances for people from outside the space or who are used to custody on stuff like Coinbase or Crypto.com. Make it more user-friendly for them to interact with DeFi wallets such as Trust Wallet. Maybe MetaMask, even though MetaMask isn't really the most user-friendly for people who aren't already in DeFi. But then, all those things that you described, all those particular solutions to those problems with people needing anonymity or needing to segregate assets or hide assets from certain entities or nefarious entities, like all of those things are empowered through DeFi, and they're not really possible with centralized finance. So really what I'm, hopefully what comes from this, and it's already evidenced with this space and other spaces, is that we start putting out, collectively more education to get people, into DeFi, into NFTs, into other asset classes that decentralized finance empowers. Starts teaching people about yield farming, and start teaching people about all these different other avenues to generate wealth where they are in control of that destiny, aside from the token taking.
100%. So here's, and it's funny, a lot of the stuff that I've been mentioning before, if you ever jump into like Bitcoin maxi rooms, this is the sort of thing that it's basically the only thing they talk about all the time. And I will say it's one of those areas where Bitcoin maximalists, they've kind of got their heads on straight, thinking like, okay, well, I'm gonna think a little bit paranoid, right? I'm gonna wrap on a couple layers of tin foil over my head. And then now let's start the Twitter space, right? Talking about how we hold our coins. But in their case, they're only talking about Bitcoin. Well, guess what? That security mindset, it serves us too. Over here in DeFi with NFTs and with all the degen stuff we like to do with all of these assets. The same security principles apply. It's called cryptocurrency for a reason, because cryptography protects us, but only if you let it, only if you learn how.
There you go. So you guys, I do think it's important maybe to talk about a couple wallet options, just because, it is one of those things. I believe it's a personal preference, to some extent. When you were saying, you were talking about Trust Wallet and MetaMask, for me, like personally, I love using Trust Wallet. I don't know if it's just the name, and I trust it. I'm just kidding. I know that it's owned by Binance. Binance is a name in this industry I believe you can trust. I believe that CZ is going to do a lot of good. I think him kind of really being very fast on that due diligence period with FTX. There was no need to delay that. I think, that showed hopefully some character of him. Again, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that I'm sure will come out in the coming weeks and months or whatever. But, to this point where we are, I think, the wallet options that you've got, for me personally, I like Trust Wallet again. I think that they've got a better mobile user interface than MetaMask. MetaMask is great for the computer. But to that point, I mean, like anything that connects with Wallet Connect, I think is, it works out well. I mean, you can even connect a Gnosis safe to any DApp website through Wallet Connect. So anything that connects to Wallet Connect, I think is like a good wallet in my opinion. There's a couple. Someone reached out to me right before the space started. I got to look into it. Where is it? Let me see if I can find this really quick. Hash Wallet. I don't know anything about it. I definitely want to do some research into it. If anybody knows anything about Hash Wallet, let me know. Oh, look at that. They just popped into the crowd right now. You guys want to come up and talk about it? I was looking at your website. I liked a lot of the stuff that I was reading about it. Had some questions about, NFT integration, stuff like that. So if you guys want to come up and chat about, what your product is, feel free to just request it and, bring it back. I'll bring you up. But, in the interim, what wallets other than, MetaMask and Trust Wallet, because I feel, again, those are the two biggest, do you guys like from a, user standpoint? And not, let's not talk about cold storage quite yet. Let's talk about wallets that you can use and you can access crypto to move around quickly, buy NFTs, whatever.
Well, yeah. So, I don't know if you wanted to go first, mine, but yeah. So I primarily use MetaMask, which was one of those options. I do think that, like you said, for user interface, Trust Wallet is the better option. For me and how I interact with the blockchain and NFT management and et cetera, I've gotten quite comfortable with MetaMask. But anything you do with MetaMask, you pretty much do with Trust Wallet. One of the wallets out there that is pretty popular is SafePal, because it does combine a very good wallet interface on the front end for warm storage along with cold storage as well. I think SafePal actually has where you can do exchanges directly on the app, like from different blockchains, like you can bridge and do multi-currency exchange on there. So that's a feature that would be very convenient for people who aren't familiar with, like, again, when you're trying to introduce people into DeFi or into the blockchain, and then you complicate the process by introducing different blockchains and bridging and ERC20 and BEP20 and layer ones and layer twos, like that, you start to lose people. So the user interface of the wallet itself is probably the most important part of getting anybody into DeFi. So my vote there would probably be with SafePal and with Trust Wallet. Yeah, my personal opinion there.
Nice.
Yeah, I love it, man. So my take on it is that, yeah, user interface matters, user experience matters, and we do want to simplify that user experience for sure. But I think there's also a balance between simplifying the user experience and then pulling people too far away from the fundamentals of crypto that make it secure. So I think when it comes to especially DeFi, like we're kidding ourselves if we say that that it's not a MetaMask owned world, right? In the same way that like when we talk about DeFi, it's like calling you don't even nobody even calls anything an Ethereum killer, right? In 2022, we just know it's a joke. You can't say that anything is an Ethereum killer right now. Ethereum dominates 65% of the TVL of DeFi markets, and that's like all across the board. All of Polkadot, all of Cosmos, all of the layer 2s, all of everything else. It's still 65% minimum, 65% Ethereum. So like it's an Ethereum world for DeFi, and it's a MetaMask world for custodying your assets. So I think like on the one hand, these other options, it's important to have some, but just know and manage the expectations of your friends and family or people who you're going to onboard into the space, that any of those other options are like training wheels. When you take the training wheels off, it's MetaMask all day. And if you're serious about doing the trades, you're serious about managing portfolio, you're serious about like really getting into the space and not just dipping your toes in the water, having a few coins that you pulled that you bought on a spot exchange somewhere and want to pull onto your own wallet, then it's MetaMask. So like it's MetaMask and everything else, literally. And then there are a few hacks to get manage all those other chains in MetaMask to make it easier. But that's an education thing. And J-Chains, that's where, you and I, as educators in the space, and when we've got that opportunity to help make that simpler for some of our friends and family. But some other options, right? The training wheel options in my book, like it pains me to say it because it's closed source software. Trust Wallet is open source, what you mentioned. But I still think that my number one for just being really easy is Exodus, because it can be linked from desktop to mobile. It runs on everything, and you can use a Trezor to back it up on the desktop and just make it operate with a Trezor, a hardware wallet on the desktop. So Exodus is still that number one for me, even though like I don't use it. For somebody who needs those training wheels, I'm telling them Exodus all day.
Nice. And one thing I would appreciate getting your guys' opinion on this. You and I have actually talked about this in the past. And it's, where people sacrifice, privacy and security for convenience. That to me, because, like one of the things that, we talk about, in this crypto journey that I've been, preaching this, pretty much my entire content creator career, is a couple of things. It's the not your keys, not your coins. Shit, I totally lost my point there. But again, it's about the sacrificing convenience for sacrificing your security for convenience. You can talk to me about that. I can't believe I lost my point there. That sucks.
To the point you were making, and I think I get where you were going. I think oftentimes that is the choice people are faced with in crypto in general is, do you want convenience or do you want that security? Because as we were just talking about, true wallet security using a MetaMask and a ledger is complicated. That ain't convenient. It takes a process. It takes a process that can scare the bejesus out of you every time you open up your wallet, as opposed to just scanning your face and getting into your Coinbase account and being able to move around stuff. Think of it this way. Look how many websites you probably go on. Do you ever take the time to read the privacy notice or the cookies notice that pops up at the bottom? You just try to get rid of it so that you can keep going and doing what you're doing on the website. Yeah,
you exit out as fast as you can.
And I think that is the customer mindset when it comes to anything.
We do know that people, I'll include myself in that, don't take the time to read things. And I would assume, judging by, how security minded you are, that you don't usually X out those security warnings as fast as you can. You actually will read it. Is that correct?
Yeah, read them. No, but I mean, as far as clearing them, right? The cookie notices and stuff. It also pains me to admit that I've gone back to Brave browser. Normally, I'm the DIY guy. I'll compile like a de-ooled version of Chromium from source code or whatever. But I've gone back to Brave browser because of the convenience, and they have a cookie notification blocker now. So that kind of makes it simple. And then they also have like cookie blocking. But plugins go a long way towards making you more secure in that experience. And then when I do see those pop-ups, I'll be like, no, deselect all the tracking, all the tracking pixels and cookies that they say they want to give me Does it really make a difference? That's the other thing. I don't know. They could be lying about it and still tracking me anyway. So that's, but yeah, I'm that guy.
I love it. That's awesome. I think the more that we can continue educating, not only ourselves, because this is such an evolutionary space that whatever is happening today is not going to be what's happening next week. Now, obviously, this whole debacle is the black swan of all black swan events, and I would like to maybe scratch that from the record of this generalization that I'm speaking about. But as we continue to just like develop on, and I think the more and more that we can educate people on the security, the privacy, the making sure that one, you protect your digital identity. Think about, let's take this to the next level now. Your wallet, yeah, it just holds your crypto, it just holds your NFTs right now. What about when we get into the metaverse and that's your identity? Then what? Are you going to let someone control your identity? These are the things that you got to start thinking about now, because in 5 to 10 years, when we do get to more of a metaverse style ecosystem, if that's something you want to participate in, again, your wallet, that's your identity. That's who you are in Web3, and you can't let someone take that over.
Yeah, this is why J Chains. This is why you've heard me be so reluctant to co-sign on the concept of digital ID. I don't love the idea that that my kids or my nieces and nephews that they're going to potentially suffer some kind of a hack, right, based on some shitty login on some little janky website where there's an NFT drop, and that manages to screw up their credit record, right, or inject a false medical record into their history and then prevent them from being able to get insurance or ever be insurable again, right? Digital ID in my mind is we're still quite some way away from that being fully thought out and carefully implemented. But yeah, it scares me to death thinking about that.
And as you know, J Chains, I actually produced the technology that's going to be the beginning of digital identity, which is the ability to name your wallet, which would serve as your identity in the metaverse and help make things simpler for people who don't know how to remember a 32-character wallet address.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about digital identities and all that stuff, and I know mine, you had spoken about the ENS, and when I would like to hear more about what you're doing, because I am interested in that. And I think the whole in mine, I believe you call them like your vanity address, right? And I do love the concept of that. One that is that becomes your identity. That jchains.eth is me. I mean, you would think for a while somebody else owned it, but then they gave it to me. He wanted me to pay him 3.3 ETH. I met him at Ape Fest. It was 3.3 ETH, and then a month later he just sent it to me. But I think the whole idea
may not have been a veiled threat in person where you're like, hey, bro, let's step outside and negotiate this.
When he was just like, yeah, man, I got you. He's like, because he had contacted me before. He's like, yeah, I'm the guy with jchains.eth. I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, do you want to give that to me? He's like, yeah, man, 3.3 ETH. I started laughing. I'm like, get fucked, man. That's not happening. But he ended up sending it to me, which was awesome. But back to that whole thing. I don't know where we were going at that point. But when I do want to hear about what you're doing to create that, because the digital identity for the metaverse, my digital identity in the real world, however that's going to work, the DID stuff, I'm not really sure. But through the metaverse, man, I'm really excited about that. But what are you working on?
Yeah, so the way that most people are interacting with the ENS domains, it's kind of the beginning or the introduction of what they are. Web3 domains at this moment are naming services that, again, give you a name that when people see it, they automatically know it's you. It also gives them pretty clear gateway into your wallet so that they can prove it to you that way. But the future of these domains, when it comes to the tech, involves them being wrappers or containers for personal information about you. So these domains, they're NFTs, and they can link to things, they can contain things, they can be built upon, and they can, in essence, become a passport that takes all of that personal information that you just have sitting all willy-nilly between your email and your cell phone and all that stuff. It can be an easier, verifiable way for people to peek in and see what you give them permission to see. Again, using a human readable address that is harder to mess up than 24 or 36 alphanumeric character wallet address. Aside from that, so that's in the blockchain space, right? When you think of a traditional domain, traditional domains in the Web 2 world are used again to display outward information to another person who visits that site in order to communicate, sell them, whatever it is. Blockchain domains don't currently do that, but eventually will, and they'll kind of become like a super domain per se. So think of something that could be both used as your identity on Twitter, that can also contain private information that you can allow people restricted access to, just like you can with your wallet by using your signature and only giving certain permissions, and being able to display outward content and advertise to people in the same way a traditional domain is. That's what we are trying to build this technology into.
And you can't, you can't shut it down, right? Like it's decentralized. It's not you couldn't be taken down. Is that correct?
So kind of, right? And this is where we start getting into debate between the differences in naming systems, right? Because everybody's selling what looks like the same thing and it ain't. Mm-hmm. So most of the issuers issue the domain as an NFT in itself, as an NFT, which the properties or the benefits of an NFT is supposed to be, being immutable, stored in your wallet. All those things that you were just asking right now are supposed to be the properties of the NFT. The DNS system, though, is not immutable. The DNS system has to be maintained and managed, and depending on how that's set up, will make your NFT either worthless or be full of utility. Like, take, for example, .coin from Unstoppable Domains, right? By its very nature, the name Unstoppable indicates that your domain would live forever, but they stopped it. The NFT still lives on, so if you chose not to burn that NFT when they canceled the domain extension, yeah, you would own that forever, but you wouldn't own none of the utility that Unstoppable built behind their domains was assignable to those domain extensions anymore because they discontinued them. My domains are run by a decentralized DAO, which there isn't anybody that can flick a switch on the DNS. So in the case of domains like mine, and even in the case of domains like ENS to an extent, I mean, their domain is controlled by a multi-sig that is run by the DAO as well, So some domains can, some domains can't. And that's a whole nother conversation. And that's when you really start just digging into the tech and calling names and other protocols, rug pulls, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm going to chime in on that one as well and say DNS and then resolving DNS is it is like literally the next problem that needs to be solved in this space to help people become truly sovereign, because there's a lot that goes upstream and downstream of that, like from what Wynn is talking about, that makes the typical user basically it limits the access or can limit their access. And so like those training wheels we talked about before, just as a concept, the training wheels for noobs to get them onboarded are going to look very different from the bicycle they're riding 6 months in, a year in, 18 months in. And it's essential, man. You can only save some of these people as fast as they can learn, or as fast as you can make the tools capable of circumventing those other problems. And that's hard. Like really simple user experience, like simplicity is the most complex thing to build in the world, right? Mm-hmm. The number of man hours and the number of technicians that had to work on something that we think of as like really easy to use, like the iPhone you're listening on right now, man. We're talking about small armies. It probably took less time to build the pyramids back in the day. So like, yeah, that there's a lot that has to be overcome by way of preventing abuse in the DNS space. So I really appreciate what you're working on there, Wynn. That's a very worthy problem to solve.
Thank you. Yes, sir. One day at a time.
How are you seeing it being accepted? How's the user base going? Are you seeing it grow every day?
Yeah, actually. And admittedly, it's for the wrong reasons, right? Like mine was just saying before, the way people are initially being onboarded is going to be completely different than people interact with them in the future. Mm. But currently people just buy names and flip them.
Right.
And that market has been quite lucrative for people and probably will continue to be. So, yeah, I mean, the market has been lucrative as far as that. Technology being built on the back end is being built super fast. There are a few of the larger tech entities that are in this space that are kind of driving the innovation and integration in the space. One of the unfortunate, situations is that they're all enemies of each other, like very much enemies of each other. So all of this tech is being built in competition. When I think we could really get further ahead if we work together. One of the unique things with my domain extension is that with those major entities, those major DNS systems, I've actually acquired my same extension with all of them. So, I mean, even though they all compete, my extensions don't compete with each other. And I'm hiring my own devs to work the smart contracts to work with each other so that I can combine the best of both of all of these DNS systems together with my domain. But I really wish as a whole, entities like Handshake and Unstoppable and DecentraWeb and ENS would work together. And maybe we will one day.
It'll happen. I mean, you got to think like, I would say that it'll happen. And I would hope that it would happen. At some point we have to stop building these silos. Like you said, we're all kind of like going for the same thing. Yeah. Call it competition, call it colleagues, whatever word works better for you. But we all have to think about that. Like, we're going for the better good of everybody. So like, even like with the metaverses, right? Like, there's no reason to be building independent silos in any one of these things. Like, there has to be a standard. There should be a protocol so that regardless of what you build, it fits. It's like, what's that commercial? If it fits, it ships.
Yeah, that sounds about right, man. And I love what you're bringing up there about standards, and especially in the free and open source software community. And a lot of people lose sight of that at its core, all of cryptocurrency is based on free and open source code. Like, there's no reason there shouldn't eventually become some standards that form around that over time. And we kind of, painting a picture with broad strokes, we kind of do have a few basic standards. But then with the updates to the security models in this space, the other thing about free and open source software is if you don't like something, sometimes it's harder to get the to get the ear of the leadership for that project, and it's easier to just press fork over on GitHub, and all of a sudden you do have a fractured ecosystem. So that's the other thing, Jay-Chains. It's very difficult to try to win hearts and minds so that you can have those standards in crypto, in DeFi, and even just in free and open source software before it, that all this stuff is based on. So that's another problem worth trying to, that's worthy of trying to solve. I need to excuse myself because I'm gonna be going live over on Mind Your Biz a little past the top of the hour. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to say thank you. I didn't want to do an Irish goodbye where I just go out for a pack of smokes. But
no, it's all good. Hey, before you go, if you've got a link already queued up for your thing, want to just pop it up in the nest so that if people want to go and watch your stream, man, you are a smart mother chucker. I want people to learn from you. So if this was your first experience, hearing from Mind Your Biz, I definitely suggest that you check out his stuff. And yeah, man, post a link up to your stream up in the nest, and then go do what you got to do, and hopefully some people will pop on over there.
Hey man, thanks so much. Appreciate that. And if anybody's watching on Jay-Chain's channel right now on YouTube and you're not subscribed, shame on you.
Shame on you.
Smash that button.
Smash it. Smash the sub. Smash the like. Smash the noti bell. Do it all. Bing, bing, bong. Let's go. Let's go. But Mine, I do appreciate you popping in today, and then spreading some information and some knowledge on everybody. I always learn something from you anytime I hear you talk, so appreciate that. When same goes for you, man. I know that you responded to me yesterday saying, hey, if you want to co-host for this one after what we were talking about, I appreciate you, man. Like, you are more than welcome to come co-host and hang out any freaking time. I do. Are you going to be down to Miami?
I was, but then I'm going to put a lot of my attention toward this Texas Blockchain Council that's coming up in the next couple of days, and I might end up down there anyway. To be honest, I was just mad because what was it? I forgot what the name of the thing was. Didn't give me a press pass. That's why I didn't want to go to Miami, but I might still go anyway.
Decentral?
Yep, that was who.
Okay. Well, yeah, come down to Miami. We'll hang out, man. We'll do what we need to do, and we'll do some coverage. We'll make some content. Always love hanging out with you at real life events, man. Same goes for you, mine. Ryan with Expoverse. I see you got your hand up. I also like hanging out with you, man. We're going to be running another show down in Miami in March for Expoverse at in Miami Beach, baby. A lot of Miami activity happening. But how are you feeling today, buddy?
Yeah, Jay Chains, I'm good. It's funny. I was actually literally just in Miami. I had to bring some family to the airport. Dude, it's crazy down here all the time. Like there's no event today. It's what is it, Tuesday? Traffic everywhere. It's beautiful. Like honestly, it's cool that people are talking about like Art Basel and all these events are happening. Because like even too like working with a Web3 company, like I'm really bullish on just the fact that people are prioritizing IRL events. Like this is major because you even have some of the people who say like I've been in my house for 5 days. I'm an introvert, but they're still excited about seeing people that they know through Twitter in real life. And that's really important. It just shows that this ecosystem is way more dynamic than a lot of people think. Jay Chains, I know that you're going to be wrapping this up soon. This has been really enjoyable just to even listen to. I honestly have nothing that great to say. I just wanted to throw something out there in terms of the whole digital identity thing. I personally believe, this is me personally, not necessarily Expoverse, but I think we'll see this ring true. I think that digital identity is one of the next, confrontational fronts for really humanity as a whole. And that might sound really extreme. I guess it does. I'm saying it out loud. But I think about this often, and I just think about how incredibly dangerous fraud is, scams, and really it's getting easier and easier to impersonate people. I mean, we are seeing this play out in real time with this whole blue checkmark thing that Elon rolled out. And one of my friends called me. He's like, ha, this is so stupid. Like, all these people just want their free checkmark or $8 checkmark. And I said, no, man, like you are missing the point. I'm like, there are people with verified checkmarks impersonating huge NFT collections. And just because you're not on top of this doesn't mean that billions of dollars are being scammed every other day. Like it's very bad. Like impersonating people is dangerous. It's incredibly inauthentic. And it's a huge concern, in my opinion, looking forward. Like, I see this for domains, wallets, identities, everything. So I don't really have an answer to propose because the answer isn't black or white. It's very gray, and it's going to be very dynamic, and it's going to evolve over time. But, guys, we are in the middle of, and I'm going to say it, an identity crisis. When it comes to humanity, people aren't sure who other people are. People are creating fake identities in metaverse-like ecosystems, whether that's an AR avatar or just a profile picture. Yes, I would argue that even an NFT, we can give so much character and personality to that people are willing to send money to people behind an undoxed personality. So this isn't a bad thing. There are a lot of advantages to it, but I think that the topic of this quote-unquote identity crisis that we're really seeing is extremely relevant. Like, I think you could talk for hours on the solutions and the problems and the ways that we should be protecting ourselves. So I'll leave it at that. Let's cap that off. But yeah, Jay Chains, if you ever want to get more into that, and when airdrop, I know you brought it up with the whole domain genius, like really, really, really big concern that I think more people should be paying attention to. Just wanted to throw that on there.
Absolutely, man. I love that. Thanks for chiming that in. Now, like, and I agree with you. And the whole thing about the being anonymous or being anon and undoxing, like, I get every side of it. From the good to the bad. It does allow people to do bad things, but it also and I did an interview I think it was maybe last week with one of the speakers for Web3 Summit, which I'll be emceeing down in Miami at the end of the month. It's Decentral, which is like Monday and Tuesday, and then Web3 Summit, which is like Wednesday, Thursday, and then party for the weekend for Art Basel. So if you guys are thinking about coming to Miami, make sure that you do that. But so I was interviewing her about this, and she was telling me, and she has a fresh perspective on this whole thing, right? Because a lot of us that have been in this industry for years are maybe a little bit more jaded. I tend to not look for the good side of it. Like I see keyboard cowboys and people get their computer muscles going, but her perspective was it allows people to be more vulnerable. and say you are a public figure and you have an anonymous account, you can talk about some of your problems. And then we all know that being able to talk about your problems is very cathartic, especially like you guys in an ecosystem, an industry like Web3, where a lot of us are. I'm on my phone sometimes says I'm on it like 18 hours a day, or my computer, whatever. Like I have a very high screen time every single day of every single week. And I know a lot of us do that are in this industry, because we are here and this industry doesn't sleep. And so, having that first perspective that she had was amazing. And I do love hearing that. And I want to hear more from people that have that perspective, more about the good than the bad, because I think we need a lot more of that. Especially as we go through the next year, guys. Like, again, I said it earlier in the beginning of the show, like, 2024, that's the next Bitcoin halving cycle. And so 2023 is going to be a lot of sideways action. There'll be probably some volatility. Yeah, there'll be some ups, but there'll be some downs. But again, it's going to be mostly sideways for that whole year. In my opinion, we'll see how it all plays out. With things like what's been happening, I don't think anybody predicted. Was the writing on the wall if you did your due diligence? Yes, I've been seeing a lot of things where investors that did due diligence into FTX never agreed to get into bed with them. So it is what it is. But, I do want to appreciate everybody for coming to the space, checking it out today. This is something that I am enjoying doing. Finally figured it out. Corey, I appreciate you letting me know that the volume was not so good on YouTube for the Twitter space. So I got to work on that still, figure out how to get that rolling. But I do appreciate everybody. Thank you for being here, Wen, Ryan. But I do want to leave you with one thing.
Today, 70 years ago, Macho Man Randy Savage was born in Columbus, Ohio. May his madness reign forever, brother.
Rest in power, Macho Man Randy Savage. I had to do that. I looked on Twitter and it said that he was trending. So I tell you what, when I was a kid, I loved Macho Man Randy Savage. I thought, him and Hulk Hogan were the two best wrestlers on the planet, man. Personalities. We don't have to end the space, by the way. We can keep going. We can talk about that for a minute, and we can talk about some other things. I originally planned to do almost like a radio show, talk to some headlines and stuff, but we got right into the self-custody, and I think that was super important. But I do have like a lot of other content plans, so we could go for another while if everybody wants to. If everybody wanted to hop off and go see what Seth was doing, make sure you do that. But really quick about Macho Man Randy Savage. If you've not seen the documentary on him, when he developed that character, that's who he became, like in real life. Like he'd be out to dinner with his brother, right? And he didn't break character. Like that's who he was. You'd be like, you could be in a fancy restaurant with him. You'd be like,
Yo, pass me the mashed potatoes.
You're like, Jesus, man, chill. Like, calm down, buddy.
It worked out for him now.
It sure did. And I didn't know. And I grew up in Chicago. And he was drafted by the Chicago White Sox. That's where he started his career. He was a professional baseball player. Didn't last long, and then he got into wrestling.
Interesting. Yeah, I've never really dug into the history of wrestlers. I think I stopped watching wrestling like right after those people like Macho Man Randy Savage and all them. And what was it? The Hearts and all them when they weren't in the business anymore. I think I stopped watching it.
Yeah, no, it's same. It's been a long time. Last year I'm in the suburbs of Atlanta, but I was living in Austin, Texas, and the Undertaker lives in Austin, and we were flying back from Chicago one Christmas, from Chicago back to Austin, and I sat across the aisle from him on the flight. He is a big fucking dude. He is a huge person.
Yeah, I bet he looks like he's humongous. I've never run into him. I'm not in Austin that much, but I'm just down the street in San Antonio. So he don't ever come down here. But yeah, I bet he's humongous. He's like 7 feet almost, right?
Yeah. I've seen a couple 7-footers in my life, and that's always, you're just like, wow, how the hell did you get that tall? That is big. Does anybody else want to come up and talk about, so pretty much the beginning of the show was, all about self-custody, keeping your digital assets safe and the importance of it. We talked about different wallets, different strategies, all sorts of stuff. And if anybody is still, still interested in chatting, come on up, raise your hand, Mama Bear. Here we go. And we can keep the discussion going. Again, I do have more, stuff that we can talk about. I got a bunch of news articles from, what's going on with the Board or with Yuga Labs picking up Beeple's new project. You got something going on with the Shiba Metaverse. You got Hugo Boss, everybody's favorite cologne and T-shirt. Hugo Boss entering the Metaverse. They've applied for their stuff, and then the whole thing with Nike, the Dot Swoosh Web3 platform, and then working with Polygon on that. I think that's massive. Anybody's got anything to talk about that? But what's up, Mama Bear? How you doing?
Good morning. I just wanted to know, how is Hugo Boss going to make the metaverse smell better?
Oh, that's a good question. They have to figure it out, though, right? Like the smell-o-vision.
Yeah.
They need to come up with
Smell-o-vision?
NFTs that smell.
Oh, that would also be intriguing. That would be. I wonder if you just have, like, how Pepe Le Pew had this, like odorous, a fog that followed him around.
Yeah.
I wonder if when you put your Hugo Boss cologne on, you just walk through the metaverse with, the Pepe Le Pew fog following you.
Your grain stink.
I wonder.
If anybody's listening, just close your ears right now. That's my new NFT collection, The Grain Stinks. And it's just a bunch of people with Pepe Le Pew skunk smell following them everywhere.
We got to make it happen. I have to tell you, your Macho Man Randy Savage is on point. Oh my gosh, I loved Macho Man so much, and I'll give you one. I'll give you one that's really close. Hacksaw Jim Dukin.
Oh yeah, those guys. They walked like this, right?
Yes, they did.
They had the That's right.
Are you live streaming on YouTube?
Yeah. So I forgot. Yes, I did that into the camera. So yes, I'm live streaming to YouTube and doing the Twitter space right now. So I am multi-platforming this. Oh, and onto Twitch too. So like we're on 3 platforms right now, which great. Oh, and I think somebody clipped something. Great.
That is going to be even better. Oh my gosh, I got to go find it, because the only other person that I've seen that's been able to live stream into a Twitter space at the same time and all that stuff was Chris Eve.
Yes.
Have you seen him? Yeah.
That's where I got the idea, because I was talking with him. I was talking with Fully Voxed, and then so I think the 3 of us may start do like a weekly something very similar, where it's the 3 of us on a YouTube, but we're also doing a Twitter space. And so that's where I got the idea, because like my always thing was like, I've been a YouTuber for a long time, right? But we've known that like views are down on pretty much every channel on YouTube, but there's a lot of attention happening here on Twitter space. I mean, for God's sakes, there was like what 33,000 people in that Twitter space over the weekend with what was happening. Like, no one's live streaming on YouTube with 33,000 people watching right now. Like, that's not happening. So like, this is where the attention is. And like YouTube, as much as I love it, and as much as it's kind of been what I've been doing for many years, it's not Web3. It just, at the end of the day, it's not. And I think Twitter is doing a better job of integrating Web3 into what our lives and everything. And so I want to reward the platform that wants to be a part of the ecosystem.
This is what would make, Elon's $44 billion investment worth it. And that's why he's letting spaces like the one that's happening with 30 and 40,000 people on it happen. Imagine if in the future for Web3, Twitter becomes your source for news instead of CNN. So this is definitely the platform to build on, especially now while it's early and these tools are being developed.
I think that's his plan. Did you see his tweet the other day? He was in there, and that's exactly what he was saying. He said, news for the people, by the people, from the people, while it's happening. And I don't know if you caught his, his appearance in that Twitter space, but it was unbelievable when Elon just showed up. It was really cool.
Yeah, I missed him. I actually came in after him and have been in that space since then. But yeah, I missed Elon's part. I was in there when CZ and everybody else popped in.
Yeah, that's
if you go in the one that has him in the Twitter space title, he's in there about I think it's somewhere close to the 2-hour mark. So I listened to it on my phone while we were driving, and it was pretty cool to listen. And yeah, Kim.com has a lot to say, and he's so knowledgeable about so many things. But I learned so much and put so many dots together listening to him. It was unbelievable. And Elon did say Doge to the moon. So that I don't own any Doge yet, but I will rectify that as soon as my crypto wallet gets beefed back up.
You gotta scoop up some Dojies. Let's relate that to Web3, right? Like this whole thing, with 33,000 people in a Twitter space, people like Elon Musk, people like CZ, like you get a chance to actually pop in there and listen to these things. And some of people are actually fortunate enough to get up on stage and talk to them. So, I'd say like there's a couple things in Web3 that are just unequivocally not available in other ecosystems, and that's like the access that people have, right? There's no Web2 world where you can go and talk to the CEO of Coke. Like the CEO of Coke is not in a Twitter space, but in Web3 you got to see. They should be. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in the future, they'll have to be. And, every company that is considered Web 2 right now will have to shift their focus to a Web 3 mindset, or else they will be left behind. They will have no choice. So like maybe in the future, yeah, you got this, the CEO of Disney, the CEO of Coke, the CEO of Sony. I mean, Sony's actually, they're going to be doing a big thing. Isn't PlayStation going to start integrating NFTs? I believe I read that headline somewhere, might have been yesterday. Let me look that up.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything about PlayStation, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, everybody's going to have to get on the blockchain. And just as you said, I mean, it's going to change the face of media. Like you said, Coke wouldn't get on a Twitter space, but eventually one day they may have to. And the beauty of it is instead of them being, taking down a line of questioning that has been curated by somebody who doesn't have our interest in mind, they'll get asked questions from us directly, like, what's really in Coke? Because I really want to know what's really in Coke that makes it so delicious and makes me want to drink it all the time.
Coke, man. It used to be Coke. So here we go. A newly published patent suggests Sony Interactive Entertainment has been actively exploring the use of NFTs and blockchain technology in games. It says that it was actually filed last year, but that they just published it this month. It's a great way to stay under the radar. But the patent is titled "Tracking Unique In-Game Digital Assets Using Tokens on a Distributed Ledger." Big. That's big news. I mean, that's freaking PlayStation, and that's Sony. And what have a lot of us been saying? Video games, blockchain games are going to be one of the largest catalysts for mass adoption in this entire ecosystem, right? So that being said, a lot of games and a lot of game companies and studios have been making games that gamers reject. Why do they reject it? Who knows? That's for them. It's whether it's they don't like the mechanics, they don't like to own the NFTs, they don't like the games suck. Whatever the reasoning is, I'm not really sure. I'm not a gamer. But something that a lot of people have been saying, including myself for the equal amount of time, is that it's going to take a traditional game developer to come into the space to really get the needle moving. And I think that we're going to see this happening sooner than we think.
What would be the ideal asset that comes out of that, right? Would it be an asset that can move across multiple games and ecosystems? So I'm not really a gamer, but let me, I can humor it a little bit. So let's take, for instance, PlayStation or Xbox or whatever. And I know that they have completely different games or ecosystems, but being able to own maybe something that's an interoperable asset that can switch between the two.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great start. So whether you're playing Call of Duty on PlayStation, Xbox, or online, like, yeah, that NFT works for either one of the platforms, and that's great and all. But most importantly, I think that really it's for me and why I think it would be important and how I know. I played a little bit of video games when I was a kid, not much, but a little. But I know that like you buy the game and then you get tired of it and you go to a new game. Well, that game just that $70 or whatever you spend on that game is just gone to waste. Why not, whatever you've earned, sell that to fund the next game, or at least partially fund the next game?
I'm sorry, I'm going to jump in and help and help a little, with this. It's like your weapons, right? So if you have a weapon that you don't care for, but it's sitting in your arsenal, if it was an NFT, then you would be able to sell that peer to peer among the game peoples, and keep your gameplay moving, but also fund inside your game your ability to purchase or change your skins or change out your buy your healing powers and do different things. So if you just are perpetually playing the game, you're going to be earning all of these things and be able to sell them and get rid of them and move through the game faster. So as a professional gamer, you're going to be like making bank because you're going to be taking this power and selling it, using this thing and selling it constantly, flipping it over as an NFT. And then the other part of it too is, like for my girls, they play a game and it's all horses, and so they get tired of a horse, and so they sell the horse. Well, I spent $100 on that stupid horse, right? And so now they sell it for $20. And I'm like, no. If that was an NFT, I would be buying it for $100, and we would be selling it for either $100 or $150 because the horse has experience, the horse has tack that goes with it, all of these layers. So I think it's something that the gamers and the game builders they're being forced to look at, because it makes gameplay so much more effective as you level up and you're going through the whole game.
Interesting. Love it. And as you know, I love, if anybody has more perspective on any of that, like, please come up and share. As a like you, when I'm not a gamer, so I can just go on, some of the stories and things that people have told me and kind of what I've learned throughout the industry, and maybe a little bit of personal knowledge. But I love some more informed opinions, because mine is totally uninformed. I'm not a gamer.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know, because by far, like, we navigate in the PFP space, and most of us follow the metrics and the mechanics behind those communities. But by far, GameFi is the most lucrative sector of NFTs since it's existed, and it always will be. And there's got to be something to it. So I've always wondered about that ecosystem. And like I said, the big players like Sony and them, I mean, they're coming into the space via GameFi, not via PFP. So being ahead of that, in whatever way you can. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to become a gamer overnight and can't create a game, but might be able to scoop up some of those assets and just sit on them.
I'm sure that's going to drive a whole industry in itself. And when you talk about GameFi, I do like kind of what some of these projects are doing, and that might even actually be the name of one of them, GameFi, where it's a launch pad, right, for games to they can come out, and you can get an early chance to invest in a game before it hits really, like, I say mainstream, but like the mainstream crypto, before most people find out about it. Like, that's also important. Like, if you're in this industry, in this ecosystem, to make some money, like, one of the most important things you need to do is be early. You can't be buying the top and expect to crush it. You've got to get in when, and have conviction and faith in a product and a project early on, and that's important. Or you wait for like, for instance, Gala Games. I think Gala Games is going to do some pretty big things in what they're doing. Is the token taking a beating right now? Hell yeah, it's like at 3 cents or something. When I first got into it, right before it was the Galaverse that happened a couple years ago in Vegas, I mean, that sucker shot up to like 70 cents or something like that. So, like, that's an opportunity now where you either get in early or you buy when there's blood on the streets. And so this is that blood on the streets moment. Like, you just got to know when to figure that out for your investment strategies, I suppose. I don't know why that's related, but
well, that's why they're saying that, like, time in the market is better than timing the market, because it's impossible to, like, nobody saw this happening, right? But if you're just steadily, if you got a steady routine of DCAing and being involved with projects and staying on top of things, and you're going, some of the price points you entered in at, you're going to take an L, but then you're also scooping it up at this price point as well, and you're kind of evening it out and consolidating the bag. So yeah, sometimes you just gotta, well, not just sometimes, I mean, that's the strategy. Be there. Find a project that you got conviction in it, Sell yourself on that project 100% at the moment that you're about to put money in it. Don't wait. Don't put your money in something that you kind of, I want to see what it does. Understand that project completely, feel completely comfortable with it. Tell yourself in the mirror, I don't care if I ride this shit to zero, and then stay in it. And that's where you'll probably see gains. You're either going to ride it to zero, or when it does pop off, you won't be left behind from paper handing.
Absolutely. That's paper handing is probably the biggest. Now I say like, you know, one of the biggest sins of crypto is paper handing, but you know, a lot of profits can be made that way. And I think that that's one of the most important things is that, you know, you do find the strategies that work for you, regardless of where, if it's DeFi, TradFi, stonks, whatever, you know, you have to have your strategies that work for you. Absolutely. All right, guys. I think we're going to cut it for the day, but I do appreciate y'all coming here, hanging out, chit-chatting, being awesome, being smart. Gwen, thank you. Mama Bear, thank you. Mind Your Biz, thank you for earlier. Corey, if you guys get a chance, head on over to my Twitter. You can, where is it? If I go, it might be on my Twitter somehow because he copied me on it or he tagged me in it. But he did clip the Macho Man Randy Savage thing. So if you want to go back and actually watch the video of it, he did clip it from YouTube. So it is pretty funny. I'm like, I got it on repeat here watching without the volume. So as soon as we shut this thing down, I want to listen to it. But I appreciate you, man. You were quick with that. Fast, buddy. But thanks everybody for listening, tuning in on whether it was YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter. We're going to keep this thing going and growing it and have some fun. And I appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Let's go. Thank you.
Let's